sound of a door clicking shut echoed through the room, leaving Harper alone with her thoughts. The silence that followed was oppressive. The only sound, the relentless crashing of waves outside, a constant reminder of the world beyond her prison walls. The quiet ticking of a clock on the bedside table served as a relentless reminder of time passing. The walls of the room seemed to close in on her, a suffocating reminder of her captivity.
He's gone. He's left me alone again. But this time something feels different. He's not just leaving me. He's leaving me with a secret that's about to unravel everything.
Harper tried to recall the conversation she'd had with Julian. He'd been so agitated, his voice filled with a frantic energy. He'd spoken of unforeseen complications, of a change in their agreement. He'd introduced her to Arya, his fiancée, a woman who was as beautiful as she was enigmatic. And then he had said something chilling. "Don't think for a second that you can escape me, Harper. You're mine. And I'm not finished with you yet."
What does it all mean? What is he planning? And who is Arya? What is her role in all of this? I have to find out. I have to know. I can't stay in the dark any longer. I have to fight back.
The sound of a chair scraping against the floor as she got out of bed broke the silence. She paced the room, the chains on her wrists and ankles clanking softly, a constant reminder of her captivity. She had to find a way to escape, to protect herself and the people she loved. But how could she possibly do that when she didn't even know what was coming? The sound of Julian's voice, his footsteps, and the muffled exchange with his assistant faded into the background, leaving Harper alone again. She was a prisoner in her own home. The world outside felt so distant, so unreal. She tried to remember what life was like before Julian Thorne had entered her life. She remembered her dreams, her ambitions, her friends. She remembered the feeling of freedom.
I have to fight. I have to find a way to escape. For my sister, for Chloe, for myself, and for the child.
The thought of the child she carried within her, sent a surge of both fear and a strange sense of protectiveness. She had never considered motherhood before, but now she felt a connection to this tiny life growing inside her. It was a life that was already entangled in Julian's web of control.
What if he's right? What if I'm nothing more than a vessel? A means to an end for him? I can't let him use my child, my baby, as a pawn in his twisted games.
The insistent ticking of a clock on the bedside table served as a relentless reminder of time passing. The sound of a door opening, followed by the familiar soothing voice of Mrs. West, startled her.
Miss Kushner, are you ready for breakfast?
Yes, Mrs. West.
Harper looked at Mrs. West, a woman who had become a beacon of kindness and support in this otherwise bleak world. She knew that Mrs. West was aware of the situation, but she never spoke about it. She never asked questions. It was as if she understood the danger of getting involved, the potential consequences of speaking up. It was a silent understanding, a shared burden of fear.
Mrs. West, have you seen Julian lately?
I'm not sure, Miss Kushner. He's been busy with things. He said he might be out for a while.
Harper sensed that Mrs. West was holding back something, but she didn't press her. She knew better than to pry into Julian's secrets.
He's probably off doing what he does best, controlling, manipulating. I have to find a way to escape before he does something terrible. I have to find a way to get my sister and the rest of the Collins family out of his clutches. I have to find a way to make him pay for what he's done.
The sound of a chair scraping against the floor as Harper sat down to eat punctuated the silence. The sound of a plate being placed on the table was a stark reminder of her captivity. She ate her breakfast, her appetite gone, the taste of the food bland and unappetizing.
He's playing a game with me. He's manipulating me, controlling me. And I don't know what his endgame is.
She couldn't escape the feeling that something was wrong, that something was about to change, and that she was caught in the middle of it. She felt a sense of unease, a premonition of danger. The sound of Julian's voice was a jarring interruption. He was back.
Harper, I need you to come with me. We're going out.
Out? Where?
Just a little trip. It will be nice.
Harper knew better than to ask questions, but the thought of leaving the house, of venturing into the outside world, made her heart race with a mixture of fear and excitement. She had been so confined to this room for so long that she was desperate for any change, any escape from this suffocating reality. The sound of Harper being helped to stand up, her chains clanking, was a harsh reminder of her captivity. He was so incredibly controlling, so incredibly possessive. He took her hand, his touch surprisingly gentle. He led her through the house, his gaze never leaving her face. She followed him, her heart pounding, her senses heightened. The sound of a car door slamming shut, followed by the sound of an engine starting, sent a shiver down her spine. As Julian drove, the wind whipped through Harper's hair. She looked out the window, taking in the sights and sounds of the city, trying to make sense of the world that seemed to be spinning around her. She felt a sense of displacement, a feeling of being an outsider looking in.
Where are we going?
It's a surprise.
Harper was trapped, a prisoner of Julian's love, a love that was as terrifying as it was intoxicating. She didn't know what was coming, but she knew that her fate was hanging in the balance. The sound of the car stopping, followed by the opening of a door, brought Harper back to the present.
This is where it all started.
Harper looked around, trying to make sense of the scene. It was a beautiful, serene setting, a garden with a white gazebo in the center, but it was also eerily familiar. She felt a sense of foreboding, a feeling that something terrible was about to happen. She tried to remember, but her mind was a jumble of confusion. The sound of a camera clicking, the whirring of a camera lens, startled her.
It's time to capture this moment, Harper. It's time to make our commitment official.
Harper's eyes widened in horror. This wasn't a trip, it was a trap. This wasn't a stroll in the park, it was a declaration of ownership. Her heart sank.
You're mine, you'll always be mine.
Harper's eyes widened in horror. She felt a scream building in her throat, but she couldn't find her voice. She could only stand there, rooted in place, as the sound of the music around them faded into the distance. The only sound was the sound of her own heart pounding in a desperate, frantic rhythm.
Can't wait for more? Catch the next episode tomorrow. And if you are ready to binge the whole series, download our app now. Tap the link in our bio to start your journey.